Nothing brings me back to YouTube faster than finding out that my Holy Grail foundation has been reformulated. Hi guys, and welcome back. So last week I read online that Estee Lauder Double Wear was being reformulated and it was actually launching really soon, and it launched today in South Africa on the 2nd of February. Now, it has been my Holy Grail, and it's not a foundation that I wear every day, but I do wear it for dress-up occasions or days when I really need my foundation to last the whole day. And there are a lot of things that I just love about this foundation. So when I heard that it was being reformulated, I was a little bit nervous. But on the other hand, you know, technology has advanced. There's been a lot of advances in makeup, and I believe that it hasn't been reformulated since it launched in 1998. Now, somewhere along the line, I did think that it had been redone in the early 2000s, but the consultant that I spoke to today said it is the first time since 1998. So it is due for a redo, for an evolution, as it were. It definitely is about time. So I went in store today, it launches today, and I picked up the shade that I usually go with, which is 3-in-1 Ivory Beige. Now, they do say that the shades are very similar to the original formulation, but they do recommend that you do get shade matched. I didn't really have time this morning, so I just popped in, I got a sample of the foundation, and so this is going to be a first impressions. So I've got my original over here and I got my little sample over here, and I'm just going to compare them side by side on the back of my hand. So the original formulation is fairly thick, so just putting a little dash of that on the back of my hand. You can see it doesn't run at all, it's not very liquidy. And the new foundation, they do say, is quite liquidy. So there we go, I've popped some on the back of my hand. You can see that it definitely is a little bit more liquidy. And at first glance, I must say that the shades are very similar, although I would say that the original shade is slightly darker. It's just a hair darker. Now, they do say that the new foundation is more pigmented, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what they say about the foundation, and then I am going to apply it side by side. So I'm going to put the old formula on this side of my face and the new formula on this side. And we're going to check out what the nuances are and what the differences are. So on the website, they say that the foundation now comes in 60 shades. I think it was about 55 previously. They say that it is the new Full of Life matte, 36-hour wear, buildable and breathable. And then they go on to talk about the coverage. They say it's a buildable full medium. So I could get this original formula down to a really nice medium. I never had to build it up, and it really did stay all day. I always used to say that it was bulletproof. So that's what I really liked about it. I also liked that I could get my exact shade. So we're going to see how the new Ivory Beige measures up. They do say it balances skin with oil control and hydration. And they say it is longer wearing now for 36 hours, more oil control, more to love, same true to skin match, now even better. And then just a little bit about the facts. They say that it's oil free, it's dermatologist tested, won't clog pores, it is dimensional, full of life, natural matte finish. And then just onto ingredients, they talk about the polymer mesh matrix technology. So this is something new that they've added, and it's a system that moves with you, and color treated micropigments that help lock in your shade for 36-hour color true wear. So I'm not expecting this to oxidize at all. The original didn't oxidize, and that was another thing that I really loved about it. And then just a few of the other ingredients. They say it does have glycerin and hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, and something called brown algae extract, which helps to reduce oil production over time. So basically, they formulated this new foundation to contain a lot more skincare ingredients. But let's see, does it perform as well as the original? So I'm going to quickly apply just half a pump to this side of my face, and this is the original. And what I usually do, I always found that one pump was enough to do my whole face. So we're going to start off with half a pump, and I just dot it over my skin like that. And my preferred way to apply this is with a brush. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a foundation brush. So this is just one very thin layer of the original. And then also wanted to mention that in terms of my skincare, I'm wearing my usual skincare today. I have got an SPF on. I'm using the Banana Boat one at the moment. It's very similar to the Nivea SPF. And so nothing has changed. I'm not doing anything that is specific to accommodating a full coverage foundation. We're just going to apply it like this. So I am going to just quickly buff that in all over my skin. So that is one layer of the foundation, and that's how I would usually wear it. And I probably would powder it down a little bit as well. I do have normal combination skin. But we're going to leave it like this for now. We're going to see if it needs a little bit of powder later. Now I'm going to apply the new foundation. It's a little bit more tricky because obviously I don't have a pump. So I'm just going to pour a little bit onto my hand. So it is probably what I would consider to be half a pump. So there it is there. And I'm going to take that and I'm just going to apply it in a very similar fashion to the way that I applied the original formula. So definitely it is a little bit thinner in texture, and I'm taking a different brush this time, or clean brush should I say, and so we're just going to buff that in. So the shades are very similar, but as mentioned, the original was probably half a shade darker, not even, but just slightly darker. But they do say that this new formulation is very pigmented. So there we've got the first layer on. Now just looking at it very closely, I would say that the original side is a little bit smoother. If I had to compare the two, it does seem to be a little bit smoother. But it also looks a little bit heavier, even though I've only got one layer on each side of the face. So it definitely looks a little bit heavier. I'm going to add a little bit more of the new one. We're going to see how it can be built up. So just where I have got a lot of enlarged pores, putting on a little bit of extra there. Definitely a really good shade match. So very much like the original. I'm trying to see if this is a little bit less matte than this side, but it's quite difficult to judge. So they look pretty similar when they've dried down. So it really is quite difficult, but so far so good. I think that looks quite good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of under eye concealer. I'm going to go in with the Estee Lauder Futurist under eye concealer, and then I'm going to finish off. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup, and I'm going to come back and we are going to have a closer look at it, and then I'm going to let you know how it wears throughout the day. So I've applied a little bit of cream blush. I'm going in with my MAC Glow Play in Blush Please. I'm not going to powder the foundation down. They do say that it's transfer proof, humidity resistant, sweat resistant. So we're going to try it out. It's very humid here at the moment. We're having a really hot summer. So it's actually the perfect time to try it out. And we're just going to see how it performs without any powder. So far it looks fine without powder. I would normally just powder down my T-zone because I am quite oily. But we're going to leave it at that. And I'm going to wear it. I am going to gym later as well. And we're going to see how it performs. And I do think I need to give this another day's wear just to get a good idea of how it is performing. But so far so good. I can't really see any huge differences to the makeup. And we can only just trust and assume that Estee Lauder know what they're doing. this is a real classic. So for them to tinker with it is very, very brave. I understand why they have to, and I also think it's got something to do with European legislation. They have to update ingredients, so probably not a bad thing. We hate change when it comes to your Holy Grail foundation, but we're gonna have a little bit more of a try on with this. I can say that I do feel that this side might be oxidizing slightly, but as I say, very, very first impression, so it is something that I'm going to have to play around with, and I will come back and let you know my final thoughts. This is day 2 of the foundation wear test. I wanted to wear it all over my face for a good solid 8 hours to see how it really does perform. So I applied it this morning. I applied it over my usual skincare with a brush, so not making any special compensation for the foundation. I just applied it as I normally would any other foundation. I did powder down a little bit on my T-zone and my forehead, and then at about 11 o'clock this morning I did go in with a little bit of blotting paper because there were some oils coming through. I was looking quite glowy, so I did blot down the makeup, and I haven't touched it since then. So I've had a really good look at it, and I must say that it has worn really well. There is obviously shine that's coming through, which is enhancing my pores, and that happens. I do have combination skin, so it is quite usual for me to blot throughout the day. It is looking a little bit shiny, so it is due for another little blot. So I'm going to take some tissue paper and I'm just going to press it over the shiny areas of my face, which is just about everywhere. And you will see that there is very, very minimal transfer. So you can barely see where the foundation has come off. So it's definitely not breaking down on my skin. It's not settling into my fine lines and breaking up. That's a really good sign. So I've had it on for a good 8 hours. They do claim 36-hour wear, but we all know that there's no such thing. And what are my thoughts? So this is a really completely different animal to the original. That I can say. It is not giving me that kind of snatched look that I would get with the original formulation. So I always felt like really done with the original formulation on, and that's why it was so good for special occasions and for days where I knew that I was going to need a really long wearing foundation. But even though this is long wearing, it hasn't broken down. It is more serum like, so there is a little bit more oil coming through, and it doesn't make me feel as done. So it doesn't actually look as makeup-y as the original version. And some people will really like that. I really do like that because it means that it's a foundation that I can wear every day. It doesn't transfer at all, which I really love. I hate a foundation that moves around and transfers. It has really settled into my skin, and it definitely looks like an everyday foundation, if that makes sense. So it's definitely, it's not the same product. I have seen some reviews online. People are going crazy, people are crying, people are angry because the formula is so different. But having said that, it's not a bad formula. I still really, really like it. And I also like the fact that it doesn't have added alcohol, which even the Chanel foundation does have. The Chanel Le Teint, which one is it now? It's the Velvet Matte, which is another one that I have in my collection. Even that has a little bit of alcohol in. And I do feel that that can be drying if you're going to be using it every day. So this is a foundation that really does stay put. And it's got a lot of skin-loving, skin-caring ingredients in it. So really like it from that point of view. In terms of the color, I mentioned that the original shade might have been a tad or just a hair darker than the new shade. I am in the shade 3N1 Ivory Beige. But I have since changed my mind about that, and I think that the new shade is slightly warmer. So whereas the original 3N1, N stands for neutral, it was definitely more neutral. I think the new one is pulling slightly warmer, and I think that was the difference that I saw. But I really don't mind that either. I find that if I am wearing something that's a little bit too neutral in color, it can sometimes make me look a little bit gray. Not that the original ever did, but I have found that to be the case in some other formulas. But I find that with the slightly warmer hue to the foundation, it is quite complementary and doesn't, it still blends with my skin and it still looks really, really good. So those are my thoughts. I am going to continue playing with the foundation for another couple of days just to get a real feel for it. So far, I really am enjoying it. Is it like the original? No. It was probably high time that Estee Lauder did overhaul the formula. If it hasn't changed since 1998, then yes, it is long overdue. And I know that people are going to be disappointed because it's definitely not the same animal, but it really is, nonetheless, it's a very, very good foundation from what I can see from the 2 days that I've worn it. So if you've tried it, let me know your thoughts. I'd really be keen to hear from you. Leave me a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.